Okay, think about this. A technology starts out pretty niche, right? Kind of on the digital fringes. And now it's blossoming into this, well, undeniable global economic force. We're not just talking concepts today, we're diving into the actual data. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our focus is squarely on the cryptocurrency services market. We're going to peel back the layers a bit, understand how it exploded, where it stands now globally, and yeah, crucially, where it seems to be heading. Our mission, like always, is to give you that shortcut, to get you really well informed about this whole landscape. And it's all based on some pretty detailed market analysis.
That's right. And all the insights, the figures we'll be discussing, they come straight from a comprehensive market analysis by cognitive market research. And when you look at the big picture, it's pretty stunning, actually. Back in 2021, the global cryptocurrency services market, it was valued at a really solid $23 billion.
23 billion, that's already a massive starting point. But the growth story really kicks into high gear from there, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, yeah.
Yeah.
The report projects it climbing to nearly $37 billion by 2025. And get this, by 2033, we're looking at a staggering $94.5 billion market. What's really fascinating here, I think, is the consistency. That compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, it's holding steady at 12.5%. That's what's underpinning this whole transformation. It's not just like a quick burst. It's sustained, powerful growth.
Okay, 12.5% CAGR. That's significant. So beyond just the sheer size of the numbers, what's actually driving this? The report mentions blockchain-based financial solutions and increasing institutional adoption. Can you unpack that a bit? What does that look like practically? Like, who were these big players coming in, and how does their entry change things compared to maybe 5 years back?
Right. That's a really important point. So when we talk about blockchain solutions, think beyond just trading Bitcoin, for example. We're seeing more use of stablecoins, maybe for cross-border payments, makes things faster, cheaper. Or, think about smart contracts, how they're starting to change things in areas like real estate or even supply chain management, offering like more efficient, more transparent ways than the old methods. And the institutional adoption part, it's not just banks buying crypto anymore. It's big corporations looking at blockchain for their supply chains, maybe. Investment firms offering digital asset funds. Even governments exploring, central bank digital currencies. So these aren't just speculative bets now. They're becoming sort of foundational infrastructure almost.
That really helps paint the picture.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's zoom in. Where is this growth really concentrated? Starting with the regional powerhouses, North America seems like the obvious place to start.
It certainly is, yeah. The report shows North America's market size is projected to basically quadruple between 2021 and 2033. It's expected to hit over $29 billion. That's with the strong 12% CAGR.
Okay, $29 billion. And within North America, obviously, the U.S. is leading in just sheer market size. But you mentioned other countries catching the eye.
Exactly. The U.S., yeah, it holds that dominant spot, growing
Right.
steadily, about 11.8% CAGR. But what's really robust, actually, is the story in Canada. It boasts an impressive 14.57% CAGR.
Wow, 14.57%.
Yeah, indicating a significantly faster pace of adoption there. And even Mexico, right? It's a smaller market overall, but showing very solid growth, too. It really rounds out a dynamic picture for North America.
That's a really compelling snapshot of North America. Okay, let's pivot over to Europe. The report suggests its starting size in 2021 was maybe a bit smaller than North America's, but the projected growth looks just as strong. What are some of the key stories coming out of Europe that kind of underscore this?
Well, Europe as a whole, it's also set to pretty much quadruple its market size by 2033, looking at nearly $22.5 billion. And that's driven by an almost 12% CAGR, so very similar to North America in terms of growth rate.
Okay.
Germany stands out as the largest single market in Europe, consistent growth there. But what's really noteworthy, I think, across the continent is the acceleration in specific countries, like Italy and Russia, for example, both showing KGRs over 12.4% and even 13.1% respectively.
Get rapid.
Yeah. And Spain's right there too, 12.8%
Mhm.
CAGR. So it signals these like dynamic shifts happening within those markets. And the report highlights broad engagement everywhere, really. France, the UK, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, all showing healthy double-digit growth.
So it seems whether it's the established players or these faster-moving markets, Europe is definitely kind of all in on crypto services. But if we're talking booming regions,
Okay.
we have to look at Asia Pacific, right? This area is projected to surge, nearly $28 billion by 2033, and the highest regional CGR globally, 13.25%.
That's right. Asia Pacific is a powerhouse. China is predictably the region's largest market, strong 12.93% CAGR there. But here's something particularly striking. India. The report points to India showing the strongest growth, not just in the region, but across all the major countries mentioned globally.
Globally.
Yeah, an astounding 15.17% CAGR.
Wow.
It's a truly remarkable trajectory for India's market. Signifies, massive underlying demand and adoption happening there.
India really standing out then.
Yeah.
And it's not just China and India, is it? The source material notes Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore.
Yeah.
They're all showing double-digit KGRs too,
Mm.
between like 12.7% and 14.1%.
Exactly. Plus strong momentum in Southeast Asia, Taiwan. It's a region where pretty much every market seems to be moving full speed ahead. It's quite something.
Okay, incredible growth across the board there. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's look at the emerging markets because their rapid ascent, it's just as compelling, maybe even more so, considering where they're starting from. What are we seeing in South America, for instance?
South America's market is also projected to more than quadruple by 2033, reaching over $6.1 billion. And that's with a significant KGR too, 13.90%. Brazil is definitely leading the pack there in terms of overall size.
Right, Brazil's big. And I saw Argentina and Colombia are showing similar strong growth, both around 13.7% CAGR. That's really impressive. What does that tell us about the sort of broader appetite for crypto services on the continent?
Well, it clearly signals a widespread embrace of these, new financial tools. The report mentions countries like Peru and Chile and the rest of South America too. They're also contributing meaningfully, each showing annual growth rates above like 11.6%. It really points to a clear demand for maybe more accessible, more efficient financial solutions. And crypto services seem to be increasingly filling that role in these economies.
Makes sense. Okay, moving across the map again, the Middle East. The numbers there look equally compelling. Revenue set to rise dramatically by 2033, a 13.61% CAGR.
Yeah.
That's some serious momentum for the region.
Indeed it is. And what's particularly striking there is the UAE. It's actually leading in CAGR at 14.8%.
14.8%.
Yeah. It's rapidly positioning itself as a kind of key hub for digital asset innovation and adoption. And the report also highlights Saudi Arabia and Turkey as major contributors. Plus, you see consistent double-digit growth across Egypt, Qatar, the rest of the Middle East. It's definitely a region leaning into this technology.
Fascinating. Okay, finally, let's touch on Africa. This region generated a significant market size back in 2021, and it's projected to more than quadruple too by 2033, with a 12.45% CAGR.
That's right. And Nigeria and South Africa, they really stand out as the largest, most active markets currently. They're projected to reach nearly $1 billion and over $865 million, respectively, just by 2025.
Wow. So quite soon.
Yeah. And it raises interesting questions, about how these foundational markets will influence the wider continent's financial evolution, especially as the rest of Africa also shows strong projected growth, starting from $188 million in 2021 up to over $755 million by 2033.
It really is fascinating how truly global this whole thing is. So wrapping up then, what really stands out is this powerful, consistent upward trajectory. The cryptocurrency services market is growing everywhere, across literally every major global region. It's a truly worldwide phenomenon now, isn't it? Not just stuck in a few tech hubs.
Exactly. That's a key takeaway. And while, yes, North America and Asia Pacific are driving the bulk of the revenue right now, what's really remarkable is how quickly these emerging markets, South America, the Middle East, Africa, how quickly they're catching up. It's not just the usual suspects anymore. The adoption is really democratizing across the globe.
It's an incredible story of transformation, really. And this market, it just feels poised for truly significant changes in the coming years. You've got ongoing innovation, the underlying blockchain tech. You've got rising institutional confidence from, the big players and just broader consumer adoption that's fundamentally changing how how you interact with your finances. It's a wild ride. So here's something to think about as we close. Given all this explosive growth, this adoption happening everywhere, what everyday aspects of our financial lives, maybe your financial life, do you think will be most dramatically reshaped by these cryptocurrency services in, say, the next decade? Something to mull over.
Welcome back to the deep dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a space that's, well, it's not just evolving. It feels like it's undergoing a full-blown metamorphosis. We're talking about the global cryptocurrency services market. You could kind of think of it as crypto's adolescence, maybe, full of growth spurts, definitely a few awkward phases, but also some really groundbreaking innovations. So, our mission today, as always, is to cut through the noise. We've got a stack of sources, mostly digging into recent market research. We want to pull out the most important insights, really shed light on the powerful forces pushing this market forward, and also, tackle the significant hurdles holding it back, and maybe explore the genuinely exciting new trends that are popping up. The goal is to give you a clear, concise understanding, get you those crucial nuggets so you feel really in the know, without getting totally bogged down in jargon.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about forces propelling this market, what's genuinely driving this pretty explosive expansion of crypto services across the globe?
Yeah, it really starts with something pretty fundamental. It's the increasing global acceptance and just the adoption of cryptocurrencies themselves.
Right. So moving beyond just the trading aspect.
Exactly. This isn't just about day traders making speculative bets anymore, though that's still part of it, of course. We're seeing incredible real-world applications really take hold now. Take remittances, for example. In places like the Philippines, I saw a figure, crypto remittances grew something like 150% last year. That's huge.
Yeah.
It's vastly outstripping traditional channels, not just because it's maybe easier, but as a direct response to, frankly, surging remittance fees.
Wow, 150%. That's a serious real-world impact. Often gets overlooked, doesn't it?
It really does. And this integration into digital wallets and fintech platforms, that's key, especially in regions where, maybe traditional banking access isn't quite there for everyone. So as more merchants and just regular consumers get comfortable using crypto for maybe not everything, but certain transactions, the whole ecosystem around it, the services, it matures and expands.
That makes sense. Utility driving services. Okay, but building on that, there's this other huge force emerging, decentralized finance, DeFi. How is DeFi specifically, shaking things up in the traditional finance world? And what does that mean for the demand for these crypto services?
Right, DeFi. Well, what's fascinating here is how these DeFi applications are basically peer-to-peer alternatives to the traditional systems we know, lending, insurance, trading, but critically, without the middleman, the intermediary.
Cutting them out.
Precisely. They operate directly on these self-executing smart contracts and blockchain protocols. And this model, it's really gained some serious traction, moving more mainstream.
Yeah.
With that, predictably, we've seen a skyrocketing demand for specialized crypto services, things like staking services, sophisticated wallet management, smart contract auditing. Support for all that stuff is just exploding. It's genuinely powering a whole new, decentralized financial economy.
It really does sound like a parallel financial universe starting to form, or maybe merging with the old one. Speaking of which, what does all this mean for the broader, the established financial world? We hear about institutions getting involved. How significant is that push?
Yeah, that's a great point. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it points to a really significant legitimizing force, and that's the sheer volume of institutional investment and financial innovation that's flowing in now.
So big money moving in.
Big money. Hedge funds, traditional asset managers, even the big fintech players. They're entering the market seriously now. They're bringing capital, obviously, but also, frankly, a lot of credibility. And this has directly led to developing new, innovative financial products. Think things like Bitcoin ETFs, which we've seen launch, crypto-linked derivatives, blockchain-based investment funds.
Stuff that makes it easier for more traditional investors to get exposure, right?
Exactly. These products are attracting a much broader investor base, people who maybe wouldn't be comfortable holding Bitcoin directly. And this influx, in turn, it creates this huge surge in demand for robust crypto services. Things like secure custody, super important for institutions, complex compliance tools, sophisticated analytics, and all the trading infrastructure needed underneath. It's a massive shift from just a couple of years ago.
That surge in institutional capital is definitely massive, but it kind of raises a question, doesn't it? Is crypto's original sort of decentralized, anti-establishment ethos getting a bit diluted by all this traditional finance money coming in? What's your take on that tension?
That's that's a really important tension to keep an eye on. Absolutely. I mean, some of the early crypto purists might argue it centralizes the space too much, goes against the original idea, but others see it as, maybe a necessary step for broader adoption and, crucially, stability. The reality is institutional involvement brings that capital, yes, but also pushes for things like regulatory clarity. And that, maybe paradoxically, can actually help build out more robust, decentralized infrastructure in the long run. It's definitely a complex evolution, but it absolutely impacts the demand for services that are compliant, secure, and, institution grade.
A complex evolution. That's a good way to put it. Okay, but of course, no market evolving this fast comes without its hurdles, its roadblocks. So flipping the coin, what are some of the major restraints holding back some of this impressive growth?
You're spot on. There are definitely significant restraints. One of the biggest has to be the widespread regulatory uncertainty and the legal risks that come with that.
The rules are confusing, basically.
Or non-existent or contradictory. There's a real lack of standardized regulatory frameworks across different countries, different regions. This creates, well, frankly, a compliance nightmare for businesses trying to operate globally. It leads to really inconsistent market access. And we've seen how sudden government actions like, outright bans in some places or really restrictive policies popping up, how that can severely disrupt service operations. And just as importantly, it can dramatically reduce investor trust. Makes long-term planning incredibly difficult for these service providers.
Yeah, that global patchwork of regulations sounds like a massive headache, and it brings up that crucial point about trust and security too, especially when, we hear about these high-profile hacks and things.
Exactly. That's another huge barrier. Cybersecurity threats and the risk of fraud, they are significant. The basic nature of many blockchain transactions, being irreversible.
No takebacks.
Right. No takebacks. Combined with often pretty limited legal protections for users. It just makes cryptocurrency platforms prime targets for cyber attacks, phishing scams, all sorts of fraudulent activity. And those high-profile hacks, where people lose serious amounts of money, they understandably make potential users really cautious. It undermines confidence in the service providers, and it can definitely slow down broader adoption. It's this trust deficit that the industry is constantly battling.
Constant battle for trust. Makes sense. And beyond security, isn't there another sort of fundamental challenge, something that keeps maybe more cautious people on the sidelines?
Yes, absolutely. That would be the inherent volatility, the lack of price stability you see in most major cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ether, others.
The roller coaster prices.
Exactly. These extreme price fluctuations make it really difficult for these digital assets to function effectively as, say, a stable store of value. Or even as a consistent medium of exchange for just everyday transactions. I mean, imagine trying to price your morning coffee if its value in dollars could swing 20% by lunchtime. That unpredictability, it really discourages adoption, especially among more risk-averse individuals and businesses. It just adds a layer of complexity to using crypto for routine stuff.
Right. Volatility is definitely a big one. Okay, so it's clear there are significant hurdles: regulation, security, stability. But despite all that, it really sounds like there's still this torrent of innovation happening. Things are still moving fast. So what are the key trends offering exciting new opportunities? What's shaping the future of this market?
Yeah, despite the challenges, the innovation pace is incredible. One area that's truly fascinating is the emergence of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
Ah, government-backed digital currencies, aren't they kind of? Competitors to decentralized crypto?
Well, yes and no. They might seem like competitors at first glance, and in some ways they are. But they also play this potentially crucial role in normalizing the idea of using digital assets on a grand scale. And they push governments to build out the necessary national infrastructure for broader digital currency adoption in general. So this increased institutional governmental attention on digital currencies, it indirectly supports the growth of the wider cryptocurrency service markets. How? By making the underlying tech more familiar, more accepted.
Interesting. So almost like a gateway drug for digital currency adoption in a way, normalizing the concept.
You could see it like that, yeah. It
Yeah.
lowers the mental barrier for a lot of people and institutions.
Okay. And building on that idea of new digital frontiers, what about Web3 and the metaverse? We hear those buzzwords constantly. It feels like crypto is absolutely foundational to those concepts.
Yes, absolutely foundational. We're seeing really rapid development in Web3 technologies and also metaverse integration. Cryptocurrencies are just fundamental to these emerging digital ecosystems. Why? Because they enable things like secure token exchanges, they power the marketplaces for NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and they facilitate direct participation in these new virtual economies. So as interest in the metaverse and this idea of a decentralized internet continues to grow, and it is growing exponentially, so does the demand for all the supporting crypto services. Services that let users buy, sell, trade, and manage their digital assets within these new virtual worlds.
So powering new digital realities. Okay, and finally, let's bring it back down to earth a bit. What about real-world, everyday adoption, stuff that impacts businesses and consumers maybe more directly right now?
Yeah, good point. And that kind of leads us to the marked increase we're seeing in crypto payment gateways and also point of sale or POS integration.
So actually being able to buy things with crypto.
That's exactly. Businesses across various sectors, they're increasingly embracing crypto payments. Not just online anymore, but also in physical retail stores. And this is all made possible through specialized processors and digital wallets that, crucially, abstract away a lot of the complexity for both the merchant and the customer. This trend is a huge driver right now. It's creating serious demand for secure, scalable transaction platforms. Platforms that can handle reliable, real-time crypto processing, at scale. Imagine walking into your favorite store and just having crypto as a seamless payment option next to your credit card. That's becoming more and more common.
Right. Seamlessness is key there. Okay, so to kind of wrap this up then, what we've really unpacked today shows this cryptocurrency services market is, well, it's truly dynamic, no question. It's being driven by this increasing global acceptance, these disruptive financial technologies like DeFi, and just relentless innovation. And all this is happening despite those very clear hurdles we talked about, regulation, security, volatility. It really does feel like that adolescence analogy hold up. Full of growing pains, for sure, but undeniable growth.
That's a great summary, yeah. And if we connect it back to the bigger picture, the long-term growth prospects, I think, for this market remain incredibly strong, especially for those service providers who can successfully navigate these challenges, the ones who can offer solutions that are secure, compliant, and genuinely user-friendly in this landscape that's just constantly evolving. The key really is adaptation and continuous innovation. You can't stand still.
Absolutely. Constant evolution. So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe mull over. Given this really rapid evolution we've been discussing, how might cryptocurrency services start to shape your own financial interactions or even your everyday life in the near future? What role do you think they'll play in the ongoing digital transformation that you experience? Something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive.